can agree that I 15 minutes. Yeah, right, yeah. And finally, everybody who signed in more on like this. I think there is. I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it that way. So. Yeah, so then we'll start in about the same 15 minutes time. And we'll get on the way.
Chapter 8. Jesus would always wherever when you wake up, so they went maybe for the whole day. So I'm very early, couple 6. Ako pa na lebat ko ba maybe ba barang. Lebat din mereka warba ubada, abay mereka. Abasa bauba na karanta lewo. At kabut drog. Mereka sa feel ako pa na lebat na ba ufelo. Ar mereka barashu. Ar kita faran dapat mela. So kana ba shayde once I got 6 na kung kram ko na kalkulate ko na kalkula halawa yung patala ko kalalewa. So just to press that button na wena ar mo ngam sinitan button na wena rukwani kauro patala ka. So that's just saying that
you can say it, isn't it? I have asked you to please come here, and I am happy that you will come through. I am them shortly. Just for orientation, we have got bathrooms at the back there. As you go out at that door, to your left, you go straight, you'll see this an area there. On your right is the gents, on the left is the ladies. Feel free to use that part. Obviously, we've got the entrance on the other side. Just to orientate you. Yeah, as I said, I'm not going alone today. Normally, because I'm a Gilawani, I've got today my seniors and my colleagues. On my right here, is Tanganzani Tagalani. She is at this moment our office manager. Is on annual leave, so she is the appointed manager of the office. She is playing a double role today, and she is also to those who have had Waga career counselor. She is the career counselor in our office for our unit. In other words, Naliana, we are married. You can't separate us in the department. Then Rizamale Ndade Dao Rasone. Ndade Rasone is part of the inspection team. Team Ela Ambuli Femi, your check about to come on. Get team leader, leader team. in our labor center. So he's also going to join us. By our setup, that is how as we work as one. I can't function without that compliance. Neither can make Tagalani work at all. So I will just ask quickly, maybe for us to just introduce ourselves and where we come from. And then, yeah, so that we can start with the formal program.
For Pastors United Movement, and I'm representing today Region 2 Stakeholders Forum, Men's Forum, Men's Sector.
President's Forum. Charles Molai 74.
Shadrach Manahin, 174, General Secretary, Men's Forum Sector 2.
Kita ko machine 74 or
I will just ask me Tagalani to like you Tangana. So and she doesn't mind because she always halfway through my pronunciation of the name she's laughing. So she avoids it. And it just to welcome you to the office.
It's very easy, is to just officially welcome you to Timberlake because you are today, and already we indicate your toilet and also the entrance. So feel free, and then for our session like this, key employee session, so we can only participate. So feel free for the participate, and then if
as we are going some documents. Most of these documents are for your own use. When you are at your own space, you will be able to look through them. Because one of them is a document here, the act that establishes, in other words, the piece of legislation that gives this unit called Public Employment Services legal standing. That one you can at your own time go through to check what is the law and so on. We will reference on the things which are inside there. All the things we'll be talking about, that act. So that you can reference in your own government gazette, you will see it. It's a document like this. Also the presentation, we will reference to it. We won't go to it line by line. We will need the whole day to talk. So we will highlight what we've made a comprehensive slide show which touches on all the units that are in the department. We will talk about them, but again, on your own space you can go and read in detail what is it about. Then there's a form which is important for our participation, as Tanga was explaining, the evaluation form. Looks like this. It's important for us, for our purposes, and I will explain as I'm talking about it. Then, as the day will progress, also for your use will be this document. Tanga will be talking about it. The last document is this one I will also be talking about with you. So let me take this. I think I've orientated you. This booklet is it is a summarized version of what we do. The summarized version of what we do, where we are, who we are as a unit. This one. Okay. All right. It's fine. So the purpose of today, telling the employers, we are probably the only unit that people don't know. We are probably the only unit that you don't know. Some of you, it's the first time you hear about something called, look at that poster, it's quite old. It's one of the first posters which came out, which was designed for public employment services. To just show you how long this has been there, you know. So we do what we call advocacy campaigns. This is used as a marketing vehicle for public employment services, so that we introduce ourselves to the prospective employers, organism, and what we can do, how we can do it. So in the Labour Center, we have done this we've gone even a little bit further, because we try and bring in everybody in the Labour Center so that you can understand how we function. We don't function in silos, you know. If one component is taken out, they cannot function. That's the unfortunate part about how the Department of Employment and Labour is set up. One component is out, it's dead, you can't function. So that is why you see us. So the purpose is for you guys to hear what we have to offer, and also so that you can, from now on, make use of the services that we have got, because they are all free. The services that we are giving you, if you pay somebody, a consultant, or let's say a consultant, I think psychometric assessments are what now? Per group. Easily over the 80,000, in a big group. You have to do a group of 30 people. You'll be able to ask those questions to say, Mara, how would you like compliance? You know? Because you would have benefited from that. I think let me start with the presentation about public employment services. Public employment services, who are we, what are we, what do we do? We are a unit which was established, as I normally say, out of what was called ESDS. ESDS. That is way before NACO and CETA. Today you've got CETAs. CETAs are born out of the need for all of the people who come in here to come and claim benefits. Remember, they go on to some form of a database. We know that they are unemployed. So how do we respond to say, how do we help them with whatever we can do, together with ourselves, IES, who goes out and says, gets to a company and says there's full compliance, but you know, he comes back and he says, more small industry, where am I going to find those people? Am I going to stand on the street and say, we've got the people here. So we put them on a database. We call that database ESA, Employment Services South Africa. It's just what we call the meeting place of prospective employers and employees. That is what we do. Firstly, we are divided into a number of smaller divisions, public employment services. You'll pardon me, I'm calling PES. That's the terminology we use internally as well. There's smaller components. For instance, you've got employer services. Somebody like me works in employer services with a direct focus on going to employers to solicit what? Potential opportunities, so that we can service what? That same unemployed people that we are talking about, those people who are sitting out there. Those people who are sitting out there are coming in twofold. People who claim and people who are bona fide work seekers. Meaning people who have no other business coming to claim. They just want to look for a job. They're saying, I'm dropping my CV on these documents. I want you to put me onto the database. Okay? Those are the two categories. Then we have got career services. What do they call it? Employment counseling. With a specific focus. Well, it's a dual focus now. One is to help employers. The other, which is major, is to prepare the potential wealth seekers for whatever pressure they might have. Amongst others, during this period, when Pilot closed down, that is how we knew Pilot is closing down. Lucky in this time of COVID, we no longer have payment that is coming very formal. Once you've done your application, automatically we pay you whilst you are sitting at home. So you see, we work as a whole structure. So there's two components. Then we've got other things. You'll see them in the booklet. One is SEE. I think it's SEE, yeah. Sheltered Employment Enterprises. What is that? Remember, in that database, only about all disabled, and the sad part is those are the people who can't enter the job market like me and you. Because they are people of special needs, isn't it? So the department has created a factory. Those people, they make furniture. These chairs that you are sitting on, these ones, comes from, we procure and buy them from SEE. We got them from there. They are the ones who made this chair. So they make furniture, some clothing, some, the PPE, very they are in Silverchair. So that is also part of this very safe place Europe. So it's specifically focused on people with disabilities. They give them skills and so on, so that they can enter into the one job market, two own employment, creating employment, isn't it? So they'll end up employing me and you for different reasons. You might be good in IT, they might need somebody in IT to help them with their computer systems, isn't it? You might be good at admin, you'll be working there under that person. The last part is Productivity SA. Productivity SA responds when retrenchments are announced. They go in with the component of CCMA, IES, UIF. They go in and say, oh, let's check what is happening here. Okay? Before you just dismiss everybody and put them on the street, come, let's talk. Maybe we can remove the burden of Cheletaya salary in the meantime to you and see what is wrong in the business. They assess business rescue process. Okay? That's what they do. The second thing is they offer what we call training layoff schemes. Training layoff schemes, which means, simply put, alternative job opportunities. Today you are making furniture. Tomorrow that job becomes redundant. We reskill you for something else so that you can join the market somewhere else. Those are the main things that we do. I'll speak about employer services now. I've given you a picture. I've given you a broad picture about this thing, and I'm certain none of you knew all of this information. I'm 100% certain. By the way, Productivity SA sits within UIF, UIF building, Motoroko. That's where they sit. Their board is there, their offices are there. So, and there's a good reason why. When people start to retrench, it's UIF who knows first, because they have to pay out a lot of money. You see? So then they say, hey, there's a problem here. Finally, this thing is triggering. Then we check if it was done by the law, isn't it? Then we start to intervene so that we can have an intervention. The correct way, maybe Tao will talk about it. Yeah? Maybe we'll speak about what is the correct way to go about these dismissals and all of these things. Okay, to help you maybe. It's not in his full capacity or mandate, but he can share it with you. In terms of employer services, which has got to do with Andy as an employer services practitioner, I also have functions. One of them I've said to you is to go and look for jobs for people. The other one, the report, that report goes to the chief director. She then sits with it at a committee before she attaches her signature on a certificate. What we call a certificate. That certificate goes back to Home Affairs, and Home Affairs then says granted. Work visa for 5 years. But there is a list already that exists, which we call scarce and critical, scarce and critical skills list. Those people, they are the people who are exempted from this process, essentially. For instance, in South Africa, we don't have enough. It's illegal, I must tell you. It's illegal. There is law that governs that part. Those people must be registered on the Department of Labor's database of private employment agencies or temporary employment agencies. What is the term? No, these ones which are at Pick and Pay, for instance, labor brokers. Many employers are running away because there's two types, permanent or temporary. They are running away from being called labor brokers. 200 people, let's go and do stock counting. Come on, game. After Luto Moleba 95 rand again, they don't pay you minimum wage. So by law, those people must come to an application via the Department of Employment and Labor. who in our area will go and inspect if the said office meets the requirements that we can call that indeed there will be a PEA there. There will be a PEA there. Few years, colleagues, before you came, Pick and Pay used to be Gohaman's Grande. Those of you who remember. Yeah, I'm not when Pick and Pay closed, the shop that you guys know, Choppies. Yeah, Choppies came. Now let me tell you, when Choppies came here, I was grateful for ESA. Otherwise, I would not have a job today. I must tell you, I would not have a job. I am grateful for ESA. Because they came, they looked for people, they came to us, they said, we know the department, because they come from Rustenburg. They came to us, they said, they are a franchise from Botswana, so it's international. You can imagine. They are now international, isn't it? So you are involving so many other departments besides us. It's DTI, it's a DIRCO, it's ourselves, Home Affairs. There's many people involved in this because it's a transaction that is potentially talking about billions of rands. So they came here, they said, we know you've got a database, you know, and so on and so on and so on. And so I went on this big recruitment on our system, isn't it? I started again, no, we want 50 cashiers, we want 100 packers, we want this and we want that and we want that. And I recruited files that I still have up to today. It's probably the only files I will not shred in my office. It's past 5 years now. But I will not be able to get rid of them because why? One day it might come back, might be raised by a politician in parliament, and it will come back to us. When Chobi says we are moving out of South Africa because Kohaman's Grand and very humble chickens. Very big factory, extremely pamphlets, how they package their stock for each and every store. And each and every store on their line has got people who are working on it. So they never run out of stock. So when they do distribution, it's amazing to see how they function. So I knew it was a correct, it was a true opportunity. I came back, continued with my research. They gave us enough time, like 3 months, to do this thing. We did psychometric assessments for them. Remember, they were cashiers, they were people who work in the finance in the office. So we must do some checks and balances and who are the best people to go there. Eventually, there was a total of about 250 people who I put together, you know. And I gave them a date and I said to them, okay, you must remember now the department has put in all of the resources to an application with you. Unbeknown to them, ESA gave me a record of who I gave them. So I said, yes, let me show you what I gave you. And you give me who you've appointed. They gave us a list. They said, these are your people. Confidently so. Big list like this. I took out my list and said, let's compare. At head office, there's a lot of resources. There's many people there. I quickly checked. None of those people were people who we referred. So I then wanted to know, where did you find these people? Because the ones I gave you are not here. And so ESA saved my job. Because it's very clever. It even says, matched by ESA. Not something I can write with my hand. It says matched by ESA. I said, here are the CVs you wanted. You go through them all. I've made copies. I've given you copies. Here are my master copies. You guys can see that. It was the person who came here who decided to rob the community of Amanstra. There was a money-making opportunity.
They end up misbehaving. But that's why I said you learn professionalism. One day you'll be hired maybe for a permanent post. And if you don't teach yourself professionalism from the small opportunities, you won't be able to be professional one day. Because aim is for us to grow. I mean, if you work with youth, aim is for them to grow up and be leaders of tomorrow. But if you want any information, it will assist them for it. One day they make an informed choices. So yeah, I prepare them for opportunities. CV, and those ones must I also assist them. And also when I was to maybe grade 12, they are going for tertiary, which degree should they choose, or diploma, or with their maths, what do they do? So again, Department of Labor, not Department of Labor, I think it's Department of Education. Page, what is it for? Education on this page. For every student, one grade 12, I usually say not even grade 12, even if you are in grade 11, you should be starting to go and do a page. It's like an assessment. So on page you go and answer some questions. Those questions they will guide you. Okay, if not so, and then they answer those questions. It has personalities, your interest, and everything. It will give you a result to say, with your personality, these are the courses that you can take if you go to tertiary institution. So it also guides. I don't know what they will write grade 12 and then even on locally next year. What is it that I'm going to study? So it assists them for it. Okay, locally, interest 100% on social sciences. Then they come to me as a career counselor of the department. They say, After you do the page assessment, these are my results. So I think people could under social sciences, which degrees are they? Then I'll check to say, okay, under social sciences in universities, these are the degrees that you can do. Under social sciences in colleges, this is what you can do. And then these are the requirements for you. Then they go and work on getting those marks. If it's health, maybe when I ask something on health, then I can tell them to say, okay, these universities, they offer this qualification. Usually they close early for health. So make sure you do your application on time, and these are the marks. So they will work very hard for that. They know this is what is expected from you. So that's what also I do. And again, the Department of Labor has introduced psychometric assessment. There's a post that gave you a flyer. There's like, when I was printing, it's like the ink is running out, right? So this is a psychometric assessment. It's a flyer that we can use as an advertisement, right? Like Andrea said, it's for free. Right? For our services, you don't pay anything. So psychometric assessment is done to assess the personalities and interests of candidates. Right? Maybe you have an opportunity in your organization and it's a big opportunity. So maybe you would want to make sure that whoever you are, it tests for a specific information to admit, just like that. So we group all the tests that are necessary and related to the job that you want. So we assess those people for free, and then we give you results to say, these are the results of all the people that you've assessed. This is how they've scored on the assessment. So it also assists you to say, okay, if I need these people, this is how I'm going to draw my people from. Because I know these ones, they are passionate about this kind of job, or this is what they are interested on. So we are also encouraging companies, NGOs to say, if you have those big opportunities, let us assist you in terms of drawing it down to a big number, right? So that at least you can have a smaller number, then you can do maybe your own final interview. So it will assist you. If it's 1,000 people, you just need maybe 200. The community is big, right? And for you to be fair, give them a fair chance to say, okay, let's do a psychometric assessment. Maybe we'll come back with the results that can draw to 300. You do an interview and then you can come back to your own 200. So you can think about it, and then you also read more about psychometric assessment. So the main aim with public employment is to promote employment for free. And these days, I don't know if you, some people might ask you, jobs in the government department. It collects, because sometimes we wait to hear from the public who says, in America or held in America. So you don't have to wait for anyone. That circular, it collects all the jobs and then it publishes them as one document. So you will find it has 100 and something page or 200 or 300, because now of COVID, they advertise after 2 weeks, so they collect a lot of jobs. Before, it was every Friday. So you see that we could try to reduce some unemployment rate. So let's take this message out there and make sure we try to wear something. So that's all for me.
Make sure they supervise the same. As a Department of Labor, I normally advise people, when you see the Department of Labor, you should see a custodian, IES, inspections and enforcement services. So unity law we are based on actually. And then now, what is the aim of inspection and enforcement services? It's just to ensure that the companies out there, we are talking about the employers and people who are working at those companies which are in place, they are complying with the labor legislations, because of there is in each and every single conduct that as human beings we are engaged in, we are supposed to follow the law. In simple terms, you can just say the law, but the law is broad. It's just the umbrella. There is a legislation applying to criminal, to civil, to marriages, to everything. So in terms of the employer and employee relationship, we are talking about labor law. Understand? And then now this labor legislations, the Department of Labor, we are dealing with various labor legislations. Through our conduct, we are ensuring that these labor legislations or these labor laws are being adhered to. If you go to, there is this, from the documents that you received, I will just tell you, just go to page 4 of it, where the first slide says there is inspection and enforcement services with the following acts. Even though the slide is mentioning that every employer, you see, I always, when I advise the employers and the employees, I usually say these laws, they are not only, so both parties to the employer-employee relationship, which is the employer and the employee, they should make sure that they adhere to these labor legislations. So through inspections, as inspectors, we we are operating to ensure that the company should comply with number one. We have the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. I will explain them. And then there is the National Minimum Wages Act. We have the Unemployment Insurance Act. We have Unemployment Insurance Contributions Act. Then we have Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Disease Act. Between for and injuries, there is Occupational Act. That's for correction there. Occupational. And then there is Occupational Health and Safety Act. And then last but not least, Employment Equity Act. And then there are, in terms of the Department of Labor, there is a definition of an inspector. It means it is an individual who is appointed by the Minister of Labor in terms of Section 63, subsection 1 of the Basic Conditions of the Employment Act, which is the first legislation that I mentioned there, with an aim to ensure that such individual goes to the companies, conduct occupational inspection in order to ensure that the employer is complying with these labor legislations that I mentioned. So that is the definition of an inspector at the Department of Labor. So now, usually when we do inspections, we will send a notice of inspection to a company that the labor inspector is intending to come to your company to do inspection in terms of this specific legislation. Because of, as I explained, that we as the Department of Labor, we are the custodians of labor legislations. It means we have different subsections in our section in terms of enforcement. Remember, I mentioned these labor legislations. You see, we have Basic Conditions of Employment, we have National Minimum Wage Act and stuff. So, in terms of the first two legislations, Basic Conditions of Employment Act and the National Minimum Wages Act, we have the inspectors who are specializing solely on that. The inspectors who can be able to enforce on that. And then we have the Employment Audit Service. Those are, we call them, we can, in simple terms, we call them UIF inspectors. They are based in the provincial office in Pretoria. Some are at Johannesburg provincial office as well. It's safety inspectors. Those are inspectors who are ensuring that they will come and inspect the building to look at whether the working environment or workspace is conducive to the health and safety of individuals. So there are different, we have different inspectors. We don't have that one inspector who will come to a company and enforce all legislations. No. Although we look at everything. Say for example, now at this office, Temba Labor Center, the inspectors are actually working on all labor legislations, but we are able to enforce the Basic Conditions of Employment and the National Minimum Wages Act. But we still look at other things. As an inspector, for example, the notice of inspection, when we issue the notice of inspection, it will mention that number one, you see the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. Let me explain this legislation. When we do the inspection in terms of Basic Conditions of Employment Act, where there is an employer and the employee, these are the documents that should be in place. There should be a written and signed contract of employment whereby the employee has a copy of that contract. There should be a valid salary advice or a payslip that complies with Section 633 of the Act. There should be attendance register. These are the documents that we look at. Attendance register which shows the hours of work. Because this piece of legislation, Basic Conditions of Employment Act, it has so many provisions. It talks about what are the ordinary hours of work. If you work on a Sunday, how much you should get paid for a Sunday. If you work on a public holiday, what are the number of days of leave that you're supposed to get, sick leave, annual leave, family responsibility, all the terms and conditions of employment, or all the rights that an employee and employer should have. Actually, they are stipulated or they are actually highlighted in terms of the contract of employment. So it's simply an agreement between the employer and the employee based on how are they supposed to conduct business. And then in terms of the National Minimum Wages Act, we know that previously we used to have sectoral determination whereby they say there are rates for retail, there are rates for hospitality and what. So starting from the 1st of January, that was 2019, there was it. So now, say for example, I do the inspection and I found that some of the terms and conditions, they are not being adhered to. The process of inspection, we do it this way. First of all, we look at the documents, and thereafter, for issues of transparency, the inspection must be done where there is a trade union rep. Remember, at companies, you would have a trade union rep or a shop steward, or if there is no trade union, there will be maybe, if maybe employees feel like they will nominate this one employee just to be present, because we need to be transparent. Not a minimum of actually 2 employees for transparency, that we randomly choose them. Employment, how are the hours of work? Spot an area of non-compliance. That's where we engage with the employer to say, company ABC, we see that you don't have written contracts of employment, or we see that you don't give people rights, or should we now enforce when it comes to that? Because undertaking is whereby I've said the employer will declare under oath that I agree that Inspector Tau came to my office and these are the things that I'm willing to fix, and we also give a free. That employer fails to actually correct those areas, that's where we refer the matter. It even goes, before it used to go to the labor court, and now the CCMA joined us. It goes to the CCMA, that's where there will be conciliation or arbitration, then the award will be issued. But representing the side of employees, it shouldn't be viewed that way. And other employees also thought that when we go to an inspection at a company, we are only there for them. It is wrong, it's a wrong perception. We are there for both employer and employee, and we are there to ensure that there is a harmonious relationship. Because I don't know, Esther, I don't want to go to a company and then after going to a company, the relationship starts to be sour. Yes, I can spot the area of non-compliance. I must interview the employee, listen to the story, and be able to use my discretion in terms of enforcing. We have those companies which, when you go to a company, you can see that this employer is abusive or this employer is not concerned about this and that. That's where I enforce right away. And also be transparent to the employees that these are the steps that we took to ensure that the matter is being referred to, or the enforcement part is being done. And then in terms of Unemployment Insurance Act, remember the change that I spoke of. Trevor and Sis Tanganezani, the Public Employment Service and Career Counseling, they also involved a stage whereby now they will source information from people who are applying for UIF, so that they can be able to actually assist them to get further employment and stuff. So this is a piece of legislation whereby now every employee who is employed and is working for more than 27 hours in a month is eligible to be registered with the Unemployment Insurance Act. So now, remember, we have this supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution. So now, if you consult the Constitution, Section 27 says everyone has a right to have access to social security, including those who are not able to provide for themselves. They should be provided with social assistance. So now, Department of Labor complied with that. So this Unemployment Insurance Act is a social security to say, during your period of unemployment, when you are registered, you are supposed to come and pay. So we have inspectors who are ensuring that everyone is registered and the employer is also contributing for that. And then the compensation for occupational injuries Act. Remember, at a company, you're delivering goods or everything, you have a car accident along your way. So it is a must for every organization and a company to be registered with workmen's compensation. Where do they register for that? Both UIF and workmen's compensation, they register. No, we are a company, we have insurance with our insurance is covering our employees. I would say that one is a top-up company, or when you're running a company, you should ensure that you have these two registration numbers, or they are registered from UIF and workmen's compensation. So that should there be actually an incident, as an employer, you are going to complete a report of incident, submit it to labor, the medical costs and everything with professional and medical assistance when it comes to that. And then in terms of Occupational Health and Safety Act, as I explained, that this is a piece of legislation that ensures that each and every company or where you're running or the workplace should be complying or it should be conducive to such an extent that there are no risks. You know, when I'm working at a company, there should be emergency exit, there should be maybe fire extinguishers, or there shouldn't be wires moving along and stuff, because of the health and safety of a person is of utmost importance. So we have those inspectors who are at the provincial office to benefit and protection of the law. Then now, how do we do that as Department of Labor? Remember, Andile spoke about the sheltered employment services. If you look at the background of before the democracy and stuff, there were those designated, there were those people who were negatively affected by how the previous system was working. The employment equity, for example, Pick and Pay, Choppies that Andile spoke about, provide your email addresses. Then I send you these labor legislations, the useful documents that are there, so that should one come and query something, or maybe if you have at a community, or maybe if you as an employer there's something you are not sure of, you can be able to consult the labor legislation, because that is the only document that will take you through the right direction. And for that, I think we could be more persistent. Yeah, I think my presentation ends here, and I thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Yeah, we have come to that part. This is the nice part. We've had our say. We told you about who we are, what we are. That's the day that one was stopped. Stop. I'm saying, not even one. They just said 7. Because you are not organized, let's take it. There are people in Western area who need these jobs. We'll take it. Sort yourself out. How am I going to sort out the community? So my appeal is to you as community leaders, those who are at the cold face of. Here, colleagues, we are talking to people who see this poverty that we are talking about out. They know it, they feel it, they live it every day. Because there are people who knock on their doors. So they understand it more than we understand it. Spread that message. When the opportunity comes, yes, in the inception it will probably look like there's favoritism. It will probably look like that. You know, it's the nature of an opportunity. But let's get them to come in, because once they come in, it means the door is open. Now ours is already then we start to say, this is the format that we are going to follow. Let's follow this format, and that's how we are going to get them. There was something here in truck drivers through teacher. Before you can come to my desk, because we had this tool which was taken down in the provincial office. Once they came in, they wanted their people, they said, let it wait. Let's wait. So we are the enemy of our own progress. I can imagine if we had that 2,000